Hello and welcome back to I Made This. My name is Ollie and today I'm going to be building a Proton pack for my dog. So first of all, I need some materials. Now, I want to make this Proton pack as lightweight as I possibly can because I don't want anything heavy on my dog's back. So I'm going to make it out of foam board, cardboard tubing and some of these lightweight pieces of junk you see here. Now, first of all, I'm going to start with the motherboard. And the motherboard is the basis of the Proton pack, which everything will be built on top of. And I'm going to start off by making a template which I draw around and then carefully cut around it with a craft knife. I mean, it's not the neatest thing in the world ever, but this is a Proton pack. They're supposed to look a little bit janky out. So the first thing I'm going to build is the cyclotron. The cyclotron is the part of the Proton pack with the 4 red lights. And I actually want this to light up, so I'm actually going to put lights inside of it. One technique I like to do is actually to thin out the foam board and create like thin sheets which I can then wrap around various shapes to build up the kind of the 3D shape of the Proton pack. And as you can see how I can just wrap it around this circle and kind of build a cylinder. And that's essentially all I'm going to be doing on this Proton pack, is just building up shapes. I haven't got any plans or schematics or anything like that. It's not built one-to-one or to scale. I'm literally looking at the Proton pack in the corner of my room and just kind of going by eye and just kind of seeing what I need to build next. And then I glue the cyclotron on as best as I can. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. This is a Proton pack at the end of the day, and any exposed glue can be painted silver and made to look like a bad weld. There I'm making the bumper, holds the cyclotron on to the Proton pack, and here I'm cutting away a segment for the end filter, which is another cylindrical thing that just sticks out of the Proton pack. And this is just a tube from the inside of a roll of tin foil, and I really like these tubes because they hold their shape better than toilet rolls or anything like that. And then I use a bit more of the thin foam board just to kind of cap off the top of that cylinder. And then I have to cut away a bit on the inside so I can fit my light on the inside. Now I'm cutting away the holes so that when I put the light behind it, the light can shine through those holes. And now I'm just building up some more of that detail with the thinner foam board. And as you can see, the light is that powerful that it actually comes through the foam board. So once I paint this black, I'm actually going to have to paint it black on the inside as well. So hopefully that will stop the light coming through. Now building up the detail that's on the top of the Proton pack. And on there you have the crank generator, the booster and the power cell, amongst other parts. I have no idea if these parts are like canon or if it's just what fans have made up. I don't know, but there you go. Then for the injectors that go onto the side of the Proton pack, it seemed only fitting that I use some of the rolls from the middle of Lala's poo bag rolls. Now for the booster, I actually use a piece of thick dowling. This is very lightweight. It barely weighs anything. It's light as a feather. As you can see, it's starting to look like a Proton pack. I'm really pleased with how this is coming together. And here I'm making a part called the PPD. I mean, I have no idea if these are the technical terms or if these are terms that fans have made for the parts. I don't know. And now I'm building up the booster frame. And then I use more of the poo bag rolls for the clippards that kind of adorn the Proton pack, and they kind of stick out in various spots. And now I'm working on the crank generator area. And then just putting on some of those extra little bit of greeblies, little bits of detail. And then the parts that I'm working on here are called the synchronous generator or something like that. Again, I don't know. And then just building out the detail on the shock mount and the bumper there. And then there's the ion arm. And you know what? I think the base of the Proton pack is now done. Time to move on to the neutrino wand. So for the neutrino wand, I think this old paint pen will make for the perfect basis of the wand. Cut it in half and then another bit of doweling for the handle, and then some more foam board for the actual base that I can then glue the handle and the pen too. Does that make sense? As you can see, I'm just kind of lining it up just to make sure it kind of looks like it's in scale. And then using some of the thinned out foam board, I'm starting to build out the shape of the actual neutrino wand around the pen and the doweling. Because it's so thin, it's very malleable and you can kind of bend it around and it will kind of fit the contours of the shape that you've built. And then I'm just gluing on all these little bits of detail and greeblies onto the actual wand itself, just to build up those details, much like the Proton pack. And now I'm gluing on some handles. Not that Lala will be able to hold it herself with her little paws, but you know what, doesn't matter. For whatever reason, googly eyes make the perfect greeblies. I don't know why this is, but it's a fact. And I'm just cutting a hole to fit the tube, which will connect the Proton pack to the wand. And I'm just going to use one of those corrugated, stretchy tube toy things that you can spin over your head and it makes a horrendous noise. But look at that, it fits perfectly onto the wand like it was meant to be. And you know what? I think this is looking pretty good. But before I can spray it, I need to seal up all the exposed foam elements, because if I put spray paint onto the exposed foam, it'll just eat away at it. So by covering it in Mod Podge, it will kind of create a very thin layer of glue onto those exposed areas, so that once the spray paint lands on it, it won't eat away at that foam. And now I'm giving it a blast with some matte black stove paint. It's a lot more tricky to spray paint something like this because there's so many little areas for the paint to miss, so you kind of have to be very careful. And here it is, all painted in a nice matte black. It's starting to look like a Proton pack. So as you can see, I painted it black on the inside as well, so hopefully when I put the light on the inside, other than the exposed holes, it won't bleed through. And look at that, perfect. Now there's not a whole lot of painting that needs to be done on this Proton pack, but just a few little areas like this copper colour on the ion arm here, and some silver on the shock mount and the clipboards. But other than that, there's not a whole lot to be painted on this Proton pack. And look at that, once it's painted, you'll never know that that was an eyeball. It's just Now I'm just going to dry brush over the entire Proton pack, just very gently with a kind of pewter, gunmetal-y kind of paint, and it just kind of highlights all the detail and kind of really makes it pop. So to make the ribbon cable, I've cut up some lengths of string, and then I'm actually going to colour them in with felt tip pen. And as you can see, I've done various different colours. Then I place a load of Mod Podge onto a piece of plastic, and then just align all the pieces of string against each other, making sure they're in a nice straight line. And then I cover it with more Mod Podge. And most normal people would let that dry normally, but I just blasted with the hairdryer for a good 5 minutes, and look at that, instant ribbon cable. And I glued it onto the cyclotron, and then I made a little washer out of some of the leftover paint pen that I cut up earlier for the neutrino wand, and then just fed that ribbon cable through it. And then carefully glued it on the other side. And just adding some more detail to finish it off. Now, the one thing that is all over the Proton pack is there's loads of hazard stickers and warning stickers, and so I just printed off a bunch of those and just carefully glued it onto the Proton pack. But it's little details like that that really kind of make it pop, in my opinion, make it look like a proper little prop, as it were. And then it's time to connect the wands to the Proton pack. Look at that. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this. It's almost there, not quite, but almost there. So now I need to do the red for the cyclotron so that when the light shines through it, it's nice and bright, vibrant red. Now, I don't have any red gel, so I made my own by using some glass red paint and just painting it on some clear plastic. Cut it into a circle, then slotted it inside of the Proton pack, and then put the light within the inside, and then look at that. Perfect. Now, I've got some old wire that I'm just going to cut up and kind of glue all around the Proton pack. And some of the wires are red and blue, so I just paint those with some model paints that I have. And this part was a lot trickier than I actually thought it was going to be. It took me a good long while to do this. You know what they say, the devil is in the detail, and I think all this detail is kind of worth the effort. And then instead of a V-hook to attach it together, I just used a bit of Velcro. Now, I need a way for this to attach onto my dog's harness, so I'm kind of creating this kind of like little lip with some more Velcro on the other side that I can kind of just hook it underneath her harness and then kind of Velcro it on the other side. And let's have a look. Look at that. Oh, I'm so pleased with how this has come together. So, not to ruin any of her good harnesses, we bought a cheap one from B&M, and unfortunately they didn't have a black one or an olive green one, so I just painted this one at black. And I thought it'd be fun to make her a little name tag out of some foam, and just glued it together with a bit of Mod Podge. Look at that. And then glued it onto the front of her harness. And then I thought it'd be fun to make her a little arm patch as well. So a little proper little Ghostbusters arm patch, which would attach around her arm with Velcro. And then for one final touch, I thought I would just kind of touch up some of those stickers and decals with some felt tip pens just to make it look a little bit aged and a little bit worn. And as you can see, I kind of made it look like that light was glowing. In an ideal world, I'd love that to light up, but you know, they do so much. And as I said earlier, if this is a little bit janky and you've kind of got some glue exposed, you can kind of paint it silver and it just makes it look like a bad weld, which for a Proton pack is perfect because they're meant to look janky, as I said earlier. And now it's time to put it together and see if it all kind of works. Oh yeah, look at that. You know what? I think it's time for some glamour shots. know what? I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I'm actually pretty chuffed with it, to be honest. I have just come back off of working on 2 back-to-back claymation music videos. So the last 6 months I've been doing lots of early mornings and late nights, and it's been pretty tough. And this was the perfect little project to work on, just a couple of days just to wind down, because sometimes when you're working on big creative projects, you can't just suddenly stop. You just kind of have to gradually wind down before you then build yourself back up to doing the next big project. But yeah, is it perfect? No. I mean, it's not like a one-to-one or in scale with a proper Proton pack. I was doing it all by eye. I was looking at the Proton pack in the corner of my room and just kind of seeing what needs to go where and building it. And so it's a little bit misshapen, but you know what? It looks like a Proton pack, so I say jobs are good. And really, in terms of actually building it so it works with my dog, it could have been a bit better. It's a bit heavier on this side with the wand, so I did try and counterweight it on this side, but it didn't quite work. So if I was to build another one in the future, I'd kind of work on that somehow. I probably won't make another one, but you know what? If I did, that's what I'd work on. I tried my best to get some footage of her running around in the garden at night and make like a little spooky little scenario, but you know what they say? Don't work with children or animals, especially pugs. But she did her best, bless her little cotton socks, and we plied her with a lot of cucumber, which is her favourite treat, by the way. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up, really. Again, sorry I haven't been around for so long. Like I said, I've been working on 2 back-to-back claymation music videos, so that kind of took up all my time. But I am going to be getting back into the swing of things and making more videos for the channel. I've got some really great projects that I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy. And if you want to help support I Made This further, you can just do it as simple as subscribing to the channel, liking the videos, sharing it with your friends, and even clicking that hype button, because that's a new thing that's gone since I've been AWOL. If you want to go that one step further, I have Patreon and channelship memberships, and there's a whole range of different perks available for that. And speaking of Patreon, I'd like to thank my latest Patreon subscriber, and that is Mark DeSessa. Sorry if I've said your name wrong, but thank you so much for supporting I Made This. I really appreciate it, and it goes a long way in supporting the channel, because every penny I earn via YouTube or Patreon, it goes directly back into this channel to making the silly toys and claymation videos and costumes for my dog, apparently. So yeah, hope you guys have an awesome Halloween, and take care, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.